All right, good evening, everyone. Want to welcome you to the Caldwell County Board of Commissioners meeting this February 12th, 2024. I'd like to welcome everyone in our audience this evening, as well as those who are joining us by Facebook and TV, I think, now. But it is a pleasure to have each one of you here this evening. We don't have anyone signed up for our public comment period, so that will lead us to our invocation. And we have with us Pastor David Payne, the senior pastor of Flemings Chapel Baptist Church. And he's going to come lead us in our invocation, and then Commissioner Donnie Potter will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. So, welcome, Pastor.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you for the privilege of praying for you.
Yes, sir.
God, I pray that tonight you would do a mighty work. I pray that you'd be glorified in the decisions and the conversations that happen in this room. I pray that you'd give wisdom and righteousness to the people who make up Caldwell County. I pray that you'd lead us in a way that is in truth and in an understanding. God, I pray for the people, the families. I pray for the homes and the businesses that make up our county. I pray that you'd bless us and that we might live in such a way that you can pour out your blessings on us because we are being obedient to you. Lord, I pray for the board tonight and ask you'd give them wisdom. I pray for the authority that is delegated into their hands, that they will use it wisely with integrity and understanding. I pray that they will do the things that are right in your sight and good for the people of our county. I pray that your name might be manifested in the churches that are a part of this good county. And I pray that you'd help us that we walk in a way that gives you pleasure. Thank you for the privilege it is to call on you, the God of the universe, who's also the God of Caldwell County, and ask that you'd help us to live in the way that we should. Bless this meeting tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Everyone face the flag, salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Pastor. Are there any amendments to our agenda this evening?
None at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Hearing no amendments, what's the pleasure of the board in adopting our agenda as has been presented?
Mr. Chair, I move that this evening we accept the agenda as the county manager and clerk have put together for us.
All right. Any other comment or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries, and we have an agenda. And our first item on our agenda this evening is a resolution in honoring Loyce Price, our Centenarian Award. Boy, that's hard for me to say this evening. But Miss Price is here with us, as well as a lot of her family, friends, church family. So we appreciate each one of you being here this evening. And I'm going to read this award as it has been written, and we again are honored to be able to do this for somebody celebrating their 100th year here with us. So it reads as follows. Whereas Annie Loyce Miller Price was born on February 20th, 1924 in Lenoir of Caldwell County, North Carolina. And whereas Loyce was a daughter of Robert Brodus and Bertha Lou Miller, the second daughter of 14 children. And whereas Loyce attended Sawmills Elementary School and Hudson High School to receive her education. And whereas Loyce married Thomas Lee Price on April the 4th, 1942, whom she referred to as My Tom, and the pair had 5 sons together. And whereas Loyce worked well into her 70s, holding a variety of jobs, including sewing baby clothes at Hemlock in Granite Falls, working at Superior Veneers, keeping all of Tom's ledger books, and working for Caldwell County Register of Deeds, where she was able to change her birth certificate from Baby Girl Miller to her given name. And whereas Loyce dedicated her life to her family above everything else and was heavily involved in her faith as a member of Union Grove Baptist Church, where she worked in the church's library. And whereas Loyce found enjoyment in playing cards, listening to gospel music, and writing poetry, which she shared with her family. And whereas Loyce has 23 grandchildren, 19 great-grandchildren, and 4 great-great-grandchildren.
Wow.
And whereas on February the 20th, 2024, Miss Price will celebrate the milestone of her 100th birthday. And now therefore be it resolved that the Caldwell County Board of Commissioners honors Miss Loyce Price and her 100 years of life and wishes Miss Loyce a happy 100th birthday. Adopted this the 12th day of February 2024. Do I hear a motion we adopt this Centenarian Award?
So move.
A second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We may as well stand to our feet too, right? All right, so do you have it framed already and ready to go? Y'all want to make some pictures? Yes. We want to bring her up front. We're all going to come down there and stand behind you.
Say thank you for y'all.
Try to set this on you somewhere. How would that be? You want to hold it like that? We'll stand behind you and get some pictures made. All right, so Pastor Craven's coming. You don't want any more family up? It's all good with us. What do you need to do?
Get all you want.
Sons for sure. Sons for sure. I guess that's us.
Bobby always, but I'm the best looking.
It's her sister. Get her sister.
Already your sister then.
Yeah.
Oh.
Awesome.
Thank y'all.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
I'll turn 60.
As they're leaving, and I know they will still
Thank
hear
you.
us, but they
Thank
all
you.
live on Tom Price Hill, Smoky Creek Road. And I race go-karts against a bunch of them. All right. Well, we've got another presentation this evening that we want to make, and that is for our Moving Mountains Award. And we have with us this evening Paisley Beane and her family. And so our manager, Mr. Duncan, is going to make that presentation.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. It's an honor to present another Moving Mountains Award. We've reserved this for young people in our community. We just celebrated our eldest, and now we'll celebrate some of our young ones.
That's right.
Paisley was born with an extremely rare genetic condition. It's so rare that the name is almost impronounceable. No one knows much about this disease, but it's under the umbrella of a genetic condition called SCDC. It causes many abnormalities, especially can cause scoliosis, detached retina, short stature, and a multitude of other skeletal issues with her hips and legs. In her 11 years of life, she's had several spinal surgeries, multiple eye surgeries, and leg surgeries. 2018, she had 5 alone. 2022, she had plates removed and screws placed in her ankles and legs and replacing the old ones. And she continues to have to go back to have surgery to lengthen her legs and adjust as her frame grows. She goes to Pennsylvania every 6 months to have this done, but she has a wonderful passion for basketball. She's a good player and is a huge Steph Curry fan, and her dream is to watch Steph Curry play one day. Paisley goes to Gamble Elementary School and has straight A's, but most importantly, she led the student council at her school to collect soda can tabs to take to the Shriners Hospital to help other children.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons we want to recognize her and all of her efforts, how wonderful she truly is.
Amen.
So if y'all will join me, we'd like to present Miss Paisley with the Moving Mountains Award.
Send her up here by herself. We'll stand still for photos. Yeah, family, y'all want to come and make photos, and we can be in or out of them, just whichever way you want us to go. Stay in there.
Short. You gotta get up front.
Oh. Yeah, come on over.
Squeeze in, too.
Where you going to picture with them, too?
Yeah, we got ball game on just a little bit.
Get her out of here. She's gonna get one.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank y'all.
All right. Regina, we had to move all those folks out so we could get, a better line of sight of you, so, because you're next, right? So our next item on our agenda is a resolution in recognizing the retirement of Regina Goforth. And she and her family are with us here this evening too. So I'll read this one as a resolution. Whereas Caldwell County Department of Veteran Services Director Regina M. Goforth is retiring from Caldwell County after 31 years of service. I don't know if we can allow that, but 32. All right, we'll read that into the record. And whereas Regina served in the roles of Fire Marshal's Office Secretary, Emergency Medical Services Secretary, Information Technology Technician, Human Resources Administrative Assistant, and Veteran Services Officer with Caldwell County DSS prior to being named as the Veteran Services Director in 2017. And whereas during her time in Veteran Services, Regina was a staunch advocate for veterans at the local, state, and national levels, engaging in strong advocacy for all veterans in Caldwell County community, giving them the greatest respect and assistance as deserving of their service. And whereas Regina, among many other feats serving veterans in the community, started the annual Caldwell County Veterans Appreciation Lunch, which has recognized our veterans for the past 13 years. And whereas Regina remarked that providing public service to veterans is a very rewarding, and that the work in Veterans Affairs is not like a job at all, but rather a privilege, and she has stressed her love and care for veterans and their families. And whereas Regina was an active Veteran Services participant with numerous accrediting organizations, associations, and state work groups, including the North Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs, American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Vietnam Veterans of America, National Association of County Veteran Service Officers, Military Order of the Purple Heart, and Retired Enlisted Association. And whereas Regina's involvement reached beyond the boundaries of Caldwell County government and state associations, expanding into various community associations such as the American Legion Women's Auxiliary, Hudson Unit 392, members in Day 3 Church of Granite Falls, participation in Day 3 Women's Ministry, among many other personal involvements on behalf of veterans, which she is sure to continue. And whereas Regina holds a strong, commendable love for her family, including her husband Michael, 3 children, Jamie, Bradley, and Kristen, 6 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren, with 2 more on the way. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Caldwell County Board of Commissioners take pleasure in recognizing the achievements of Veteran Services Director Regina Goforth during her time with Caldwell County. And be it further resolved that the Caldwell County Board of Commissioners thanks Regina for her time she has served Caldwell County and its citizens, and wishes Regina a very happy retirement. And I'll make a motion that we adopt this resolution. Do we have any other discussion or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And nobody's opposed, right? So we're going to stand up and applaud you too. We'll come down. Yep. So we make this presentation of this resolution that you can hang on the wall or sit up. All right. Next Friday is her reception for that at 2 o'clock here in this room. So invite everybody that sees this, comes, and veterans alike to come and be a part of that.
Smile, Regina. Thank you.
One thing I'll say is that we do these resolutions in honor of our staff, not for them, but for their descendants, the children and the grandchildren she's never going to meet, so they know who she was.
Want a picture of your family? Yeah. Come on up here, family. All these.
I can take a picture of you, the girls.
I've been crying.
Perfect.
Thank y'all.
Regina, before you leave, I would like to say, my father was a veteran. He passed away. It's been a year has passed Thanksgiving. These people are wonderful to work with. They helped my mom, and I was really pleased and happy to have her to help us with this stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amen.
Regina, you want to say something? Do you want to come up and have a freedom to say something and give us some imparting wisdom?
It's really hard for me to leave.
Yeah.
You know, when it's time, so.
Well, you ain't got to leave now.
Yes, she does.
A lot easier to stay than it is to leave. Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that's got us through most of our important business. Do I hear a motion we adjourn? Oh, all the rest of these folks would be upset, I know.
You can do the rest by acclamation.
All right, next is an update from the U.S. Forest Service, and Nicholas Larson's with us. Mr. Larson. Excuse me.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for making some time for me this evening. I just wanted to give a couple of updates on a couple of programs and projects happening on the Pisgah National Forest, and specifically some of those that are here in Caldwell County. So the first one that I want to talk a little bit about is the Pisgah Restoration Initiative Collaborative Forest Landscape Restoration Project. There's a lot of government words in a row. But for those of you that remember last year, or 2 years ago rather, the Grandfather Ranger District wrapped up a 10-year project to increase the amount of prescribed fire and activities that we do to reduce wildfire risk and restore fire-adapted forest on the National Forest. The Grandfather District wrapped up that initial program, and in 2023, we started a new, larger program of similar objectives across the entire Pisgah National Forest. So 2023 was our first round of having that same kind of national emphasis and national increase in our budgets and support to continue to increase our prescribed burning, increase our restoration activities, increase the amount of non-native invasive weeds treatments that we do, and watershed protection work that we do. So we're really excited. We've got that support again for another 10 years. It's a national priority project, so we'll have that funding and that support for those full 10 years. We have a suite of state, federal, and non-government office partners that we're working with to the tune of organizations like Trout Unlimited and the Nature Conservancy, and obviously all of our state partners like the North Carolina Forest Service and Wildlife Resources Commission. What else do I got to say on that one? It's a real good opportunity to make connections with a lot of those state organizations. And one real good example that's coming down the pike right now is Carolina Land and Lakes has just received a federal grant to update all the community wildfire protection plans in all of our fire districts. So many of those folks will be working with the North Carolina Forest Service as well as your local fire departments to update all those plans, and that's really a key for additional federal funds. Now, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal to pull together a plan, but they haven't been updated in probably close to 8 or 9 years, and it's really for the feds, for the federal funding, it's really an important step for those departments and for the state to be able to receive those federal fundings. So part of the reason that they were able to receive that grant is knowing that they've got the backing and that they've got close ties with all these different organizations that we're working with under the Pisgah Restoration Initiative. So we're excited to see that continue. Tied to that, sometime this spring, probably in the next month or two, we're going to be releasing a draft environmental assessment for a project called the Grandfather Appalachian and Pisgah Restoration Project. That project is going to be looking across the entire Pisgah National Forest to find those priority areas to reduce wildfire risk and restore fire-adapted forests. So again, this is going to be a project to the tune of 240,000 acres of prescribed burning, timber management, non-commercial treatments, all these activities that we can do to reduce risk to our communities that are at risk, the ones that are close to our national forest, and are at risk of wildfire, be it from arson or from natural causes, and work that we can do to restore the natural fire regime in those areas and the forest associated with that. So we're really excited about that. That's the largest scale environmental assessment that I've worked on in my 19-year career. That'll be a really big deal for us. One of the things that I'm particularly excited about, and Vic, this for your volunteer fire departments, this will be real important. We're including in that proposal the ability to bring prescribed fire from private lands up into national forest. So historically, when a neighboring landowner has wanted to conduct a prescribed burn, to bring that onto national forest usually takes a long environmental review process. We're going to front load that environmental review process with this project across those priority areas. So if there's an organization or if there's an HOA that really wants to be proactive, we'll be able to enable them to work very, very quickly and work with the U.S. Forest Service and the North Carolina Forest Service to get that work done. So we're super excited about that. The last one that I want to give you guys an update on is Wilson Creek corridor study. So I know that I've talked to Donnie a little bit about some of the work that we're doing. So we've partnered with the Carolina Land and Lakes RC&D again to look at a corridor study for our heavily visited area there in Wilson Creek. Friday of this week, we're going to be pulling together some of our stakeholders, some key members of the community here in Caldwell County to target kind of what improvements need to be made in that 2-mile section of heavily visited Wilson Creek, and how we can target our public and the user groups out there to make sure that we're reaching out to the right members of the community and the right folks that are utilizing that area. Wilson Creek is slammed in the summertime, right? So we all know that. So I want to be really clear, what we're doing in this project is not intending to increase the amount of visitors or use in that area. What we're really targeting is to make sure that the facilities we have facilitate and can accommodate the really high amount of use that we see in the summer months. So we're looking at what kind of improvements we can make out there. The study itself is going to be broader than just that 2-mile section, but we're really going to focus the actionable items on that lower section. It's really important both to me at the U.S. Forest Service as well as North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission that the upper reaches of that river and corridor are really left for some of those more dispersed uses for our anglers, for our backpackers, and for folks that are not out for a day trip. So we're going to continue to work with, keep you guys abreast of kind of how that progresses. We do have a county planner that's planning to accompany us on Friday for that kickoff meeting and to start into that. And we've got some folks from, or we've got an individual from the Chamber of Commerce also involved. I'll leave it at that unless y'all have any questions or anything about happenings on the National Forest that I can address for you.
This study, will it address the traffic issues that we've had up there forever?
It won't necessarily address the traffic issues. What we're, Wilson Creek is a tough nut to crack. It's national forest land surrounded by a state road. So what we're trying to do is to create adequate parking, create enough facilities so the upwards of 400 visitors that we see there on the summer weekends, that we can accommodate that use. So I don't necessarily see a whole lot of increase in parking, but we're going to continue the same stuff that we're doing to define where the road is, define clearly where parking is, so that we can easily enforce removing cars when they're not parked in their appropriate place.
I'm sure you know the trouble we've had as far as having to try to get emergency vehicles up in that area and that's for the people that live up that way too, as well as the people that are visiting. But it's always a concern and it's always a burden on our sheriff's department and our fire departments and emergency response in that area just because the road gets blocked. And people leave their vehicles in the road and then trying to get them there. And I'm sure you know all that, but at some point that needs to be addressed. That's the biggest problem that we have up there, I think, right now.
Yeah, and I don't want to be pre-decisional on what this study is doing, but it's really important to me that the design of the corridor, when that's in place, that it's incredibly clear where there's a road and where there's a parking area. What we don't have right now at Wilson Creek is we don't have clarity on what's road and what's parking, especially when we get those busy weekends and one vehicle ends up pulling over, then that starts to invite more.
So, Nick, I could talk about this for days. And I'll start by saying thank you for all the work you're doing in the forest area. That's greatly appreciated. But I've been involved in this Wilson's Creek thing for 12 years. We're no better today than we were 12 years ago. In fact, we're worse. So, quite honestly, I'm tired of hearing you tell me or tell us what you all gonna do, because you ain't done nothing so far. The only money that's been spent on Wilson's Creek corridor is the money for the guardrails that I got from the federal government, personally got through Mark Meadows, to put the guardrails up, and through DOT. There's still some widening project that needs to be done. Where are we at on that?
That's still part of that FLAP grant that was awarded in 2019? Was it 2019 that was awarded?
2020. Well, it was awarded in 19, but I don't think we got the money till like 2021 or something like that.
I think that sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah.
The cycle's a little bit
Took a
off.
couple of years for the money to flow down to us. But to Robbie's point, you know, it's a big burden on our taxpayers in this county. Just last year, on your property in that area, we spent almost $16,000 out of the sheriff's department's budget to put extra deputies down there to run the people off and to keep the cars out of the road, because y'all will not do anything to fix the problem. Now, here's the other thing. What are you doing about all the waste, all the people defecating and urinating in the creek, on the side of the creek down there? You talk about all the wonderful things you're doing. You're talking about going upstream. Well, what are you doing about all that? Environmental problems. You've done zero. If that was happening anywhere else in this country, on federal land, it would not be tolerated. It would not. You guys went up here on the parkway because people were parking on the roads and beside the road and using it to be able to snowboard and ski down or sled down. Well, you closed it, you fixed that problem. You fixed a problem over in East Tennessee that you had, and a place over there where y'all were getting inundated with people coming in. You stopped them from going in there. We're not asking you to stop people from going. We want people to come. But we need the federal government and the Forest Service to get off their do something about it and quit talking about it. I'm sick and tired of hearing, oh, we're working on it, we're doing a study, you did a study 2 years ago about parking spots. So now you're going to do another study. When are you going to fix it? When? That's what I want to know.
Well, Donnie, I'm doing my best here. The
No,
examples.
you're not. No, you're not. You're not doing your best, because if you really wanted it fixed, you would push it up the top and you'd get somebody involved. The only thing that's being done that's being involved is we're doing it. We're spending taxpayers' dollars to take care of federal land. You're giving us hardly anything back in PELT money. You got poor fire departments up there. You got our EMS up here in the summertime that's running them ragged. You're not giving us back what we deserve. And I'm tired of putting the burden on the taxpayers' back in this county for the federal government not wanting to do anything. I'm not saying you personally. I'm talking about the federal government. Federal government ain't doing nothing. And you know it, and I know it. A bunch of this, a bunch of lips. All we ever get for 12 years, we've been getting lips. Lip service.
Well, Donnie, the examples you gave me were national park units. And you all know it's a vastly different organization on the national park than it is.
It's federally owned. I don't give a crap if it's different or what. It's still federal property. If West Wall and Clean Wilson's Creek stops today, I've tried to talk him into quitting. Because you know why? If he quits, then you guys will do something to fix it. Right now, you won't do anything because you got West Wall taking all the burden down there keeping that creek clean. If it wasn't for them, that place would look like a damn third world country. I'm tired of talking about it. But you don't even need to come to another meeting. You don't ever need to call me again until you call me with some damn answers.
By the way, I heard that they rented out or leased the trails off to bicycle riders. Is that, what happens with that money on the trails up in the forest and stuff? Where the horse riders used to be able to ride horses up there all the time, and now they've,
That's right. You
now
know
they've
why?
leased it out to the bicycle.
You know why they won't let them? Because their horses were pooping on the trail. But you can go poop on the creek, they don't care about that. Humans can go poop on the creek, but by God, don't let no horse poop on the trail out in the 12 miles out in the woods somewhere.
So, Mr. Branch, the money that we get for outfitters and guides, I'm assuming is what you're talking about, when we have recreation events and outfitter and guide programs that are taking people on tours or anything like that. A portion of that does come back to the county for payment in lieu of taxes. Thereabouts, the late 80s, that turned over where historically that was more timber receipts that came back to the counties. And here in North Carolina, that's switched over to now. Most of our counties are getting much more funding from outfitters and guides than they are from timber receipts.
So you turned it was horse trails into bicycle trails, and do you lease them out? I mean, is that?
No, we don't lease them out. We collect a portion of the revenue that's generated from either a recreation event, if it's a race event, or from an outfitter and guide, and that's a payment for the use of the lands.
Do you have to have a permit to ride a bicycle on that trail?
No. You have to have a permit to have an organized event and a race,
Okay.
or to collect money as a guide. Just to ride a bike, you don't need a permit at all.
Tony, this may be you may not can answer this question because it's kind of catching you off guard. How much PELP money are we getting from the federal government?
It varies, 120 to 150,000.
Doesn't that go to the school system?
Fire department, school, how much? That's all, the county's getting, that's the county portion, right?
That's the part we
Comes to
keep
us.
and share with the 3 fire departments.
That we gotta share with the fire department. So we're getting $100,000 roughly from the federal government. And that's fire departments. There's 3 fire departments that are out, right? Yep. Then you got the sheriff's office alone spending about $60,000. Then we put a visitor center up there. It costs us about $16,000 to run a visitor center up there. So we're $70,000, pushing $70,000. So we'd like to have some more money. If you're gonna put the burden on us, by God, send us some money to pay for it.
Not counting the volunteerism that goes on with our residents, clean
That's right.
Wilson's Creek, and
Yeah.
anybody else that's going up there.
Here's the thing,
So-
Nick. I get angry about this because you're not the one taking calls from the citizens that complain about it. Okay? You don't get many calls. But the next time they start calling me, I'm gonna give
Well,
phone
we
number because
need
I
your
got
cell
it.
number.
I got it.
We got it now.
I got it.
Okay.
So we're gonna send them to you and let you explain to them why the federal government ain't doing anything. And to Jeff's point earlier, me and him were talking about it. There's citizens up there. We can't get an ambulance to them. How would you like to live up there in a place like that, and your loved one, your kid, daughter, son, parents, had needed an ambulance, and you couldn't get it up there because the federal government wouldn't do anything, and the roads are closed up, all jammed up in there. We have to close the roads at like 9:30 in the morning. A permitting system, some way to control traffic is all we're asking you to do. We want people to come, but control how many people's coming in there. You don't let that happen in Brevard at the Sliding Rock. You have a number, they're allowed at this certain number, then you cut it off.
Well, Donnie, this corridor study is looking at what are the minimum facilities for us to be able to do that. And we've talked about this in the past. That's a state road. I'm not able to close that road by my own decree. I'm also not able to issue a permit without having a minimum number of facilities. And one restroom in a 2-mile area is not enough to meet the standards that I'm given in management of the federal lands
I get-
to do that. So
I
this is
get
going to
it.
give us that option. But right now, given the rules that I have, I don't have that option.
Listen, you do have the option. You do have the option. All you have to do is sit down with DOT and come up with a plan. The frustrating part is we've been dealing with this for 12 years, okay? This ain't like something that started last year and you got to figure out how to fix it this year. You've had 12 years to have a plan
That you know of.
that we know of. Yeah. I've been involved in it for 12 years. So it's not like, I mean, the federal government takes so long to do anything. So you're going to do this study. And the reason, and again, it's nothing personal, but you're going to do this study and ain't nothing going to happen, but you're going to have a study that says you've done something. So when you got something to bring back to me or to us and say, starting on this date, we're going to fix this problem. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear a bunch of promises and we're going to do a study and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Just fix the problem. It ain't that hard to fix.
You know, we even bought Deerhorn Park to try to even
We
clear up a
absolutely
little
did.
bit of it, just to try to help ourselves, and it,
Yep. All right.
Tired of talking about it.
Anybody else? I think Commissioner Potter has carried our sentiments well, so
Yes, he has.
I know some of our law enforcement folks are here that battle that every weekend up there, and I appreciate them being here tonight too. And they can give us a whole other perspective on it. And I think I heard you somewhere, Nick, say 400 people using the facility up there?
No, there's upwards of 400 vehicles. If I said 400 people,
Okay,
I
400
misspoke.
vehicles.
There's 400 vehicles in that 2-mile
Yeah.
section on a hot summer day.
Right.
Which is obviously not manageable.
Yeah.
And listen, I know there's complications in it, but you gotta make an effort. I mean, you gotta go to somebody and say, listen, boss, them boys there in Caldwell County is getting on my hind end. We gotta fix this problem. There's somebody in the federal government, Forest Service, or whatever y'all wanna call it, that can fix that problem.
don't worry about it, Donnie, we're having another study.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Forgot about that.
Could we, maybe, and I'm an old fire guru, maybe we could do a prescribed burn every
Got a headache.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Prescribed burn, right near the creek on every Saturday. Just smoke it all up. They won't come as many then.
I would be willing to bet you money that DOT would let you put a booth down there on both ends or at one end, or you have to put it at both ends, and house that thing. And so when you get to a certain number, you don't let nobody come through unless they're a resident. It's not that hard.
How many officers do you have patrolling up
Good
and down through there in
question.
the
Very
summertime?
good question. Let's listen to that answer.
Right now,
Anytime, I mean,
We've got-
have we ever had?
yeah, we've got across the Pisgah National Forest, we've got 3 officers.
How many officers do we have up there? Anybody, could
John
anybody
Runyon.
go?
Is John Runyon sitting back there? Is that your bald head I see? Yes, sir. How many federal officers you ever seen in Wilson's Creek this past summer on the weekend?
This past summer, one. We have one that's filling in part-time, I believe, from the Appalachian District.
Yeah.
That's
How many
it.
do we put down there on the weekends?
Just depends on which weekend.
Big weekend.
Upwards, a big weekend, about 10 officers per day.
Okay. How many does the state got down there?
They usually send 2. Sometimes if they're doing some of their patrols, they'll send 7 or 8.
You can send this message back to somebody.
I do, Donnie. I do.
Or let us know who we can call.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tie in with you on some folks within ours.
There ain't no need to tie in with me on nothing.
All right.
You come to me with a answer. I don't want to hear it. I'm tired of talking about it.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you for coming. We know we've abused you. We're getting it every weekend, man. We're getting abuse every weekend. So, but we thank you for coming.
All right, take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Next, we have a presentation on STRAP grant accomplishments. Aaron Franks. Good evening, Mr. Franks.
How you doing?
We're good. Hope you are.
Appreciate it. Before I get into the strap, I just wanted to touch on a little bit of soil and water and what we do. Our mission statement is we promote wise use and management of our natural resources by providing educational information, dedicated and experienced leadership, and technical excellence to landowners, land users, local interest groups, and community schools. We're committed to providing equal service to all clients. Clicker here. So just to let you know, past 5 years or so, Caldwell Soil and Water has put back into the county $238,000 between 19 and 23. Right now in progress, we've got $105 worth of projects going on that we're putting back into the county. And this year, I'm looking at a historic potential of $150,000 we're putting back into the county. So in the past 5-6 years, we're looking at right around almost $500,000 we're putting back into the county. And then our, if I can get my paper out, the NRCS, which is our federal counterpart, who, you know, they've got a whole lot more money than I do. And through 19 to 23, they put $590,000 back into Caldwell County. This year, they're looking at another $275,000 that's going back into the county. And with our monies combined over the past 5-6 years, we've put back over $1.3 million back into Caldwell County. And what does that mean? So you're looking at, over the past 5-6 years, we've affected, in a good way, over 1,100 acres of farmland. We've saved 127 tons of soil for irrigation. We've added 3,000 gallons of water and managed roughly around 23,000 pounds of chicken manure, which, you know, there's not a whole lot of chicken farming in Caldwell County, but that's still a whole lot of waste. So that's what we're doing on a regular basis over the years. So as I've only been here for a year, and I come right into this STRAP program. So Stream Flow Rehabilitation Assistance Program for helping to reduce flooding and help floodplain areas. In year 21 and 22, the General Assembly gave districts across the state $38 million. Caldwell County received $259,437, which I used last year to remove stream debris from over 9,000 linear feet of stream. And this year, we're looking at $20 million across the state, and I appreciate the consent agenda last month of my application. So just to show you what we did last year with this program, we did almost a mile section of Lower Creek from just below Google all the way down to the old furniture complex. And you can see just the before and after pictures of some of the debris that was removed. I mean, you wouldn't believe the amount of tires that come out of that creek. The more you dig, the more keep coming. And it's crazy. But this program is used not only to reduce flooding, but to keep things like that's a sewer pipe going across the creek. Big enough tree comes through, busts that open. I mean, that creek's gonna be in worse shape than it already is.
Did you guys move that? Did you relocate the sewer pipe?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
I thought I saw it disappear in that second picture right there. Maybe not.
No.
Okay, yeah, I got
No,
it.
it's still there. There wasn't a whole lot of debris on that one, but we all know, if you've been, you know, from around here, you've seen that creek comes up with the quickness all the time. So, you know, we're trying to keep the debris from going down, busting creeks, going into parking lots, this and that. See, this is across from Fair Value. I mean, this was a huge spot. And this spring, a contractor had one high water event. He just happened to get those trees out of that creek that afternoon. Storm come in that evening, that big giant sandbar right there. Water come up 5 foot. Next morning, sandbar's gone. That was the trees were holding it there.
Yeah.
So it's the power of water is amazing. But you can see there's the difference. There's going in the complex. I don't have a full number of the amount of debris that came out, but I mean, it took him a solid month of every day hauling out. And with this program, we remove the debris completely from the floodplain altogether. Unfortunately, with the high water events we've had, there's some more issues that's happened in this area down by the complex, but you can't help the weather, I guess. So when we got done with Lower Creek, before I get that, thanks to Seth with the Cooperative Extension, he brought his drone out, and so we flew some before and after aerial pictures. You can really see the difference in what each spot looks when it was cleaned. And some of those spots there going down 18 were pretty heavily covered. But that's just trees caved in. If you were standing there at that time, you couldn't even see the water. It was nothing but treetops. But this is what it looked like after my contractor removed the debris. So we moved on from Lower Creek and we went into Little Gunpowder Creek, which goes down an old sewer right-of-way line near the fairgrounds. You can see the biggest issue out there was beaver dams. You know, Caldwell County's in the BMAP program, which helped. You know, we teamed up with the USDA, went out there. I think it cost $200 to trap 3 beavers and remove 5 beaver dams. I mean, it's a great program.
Yep.
And that's what the creek looked like afterwards. I mean, we were in there setting traps, wading in water that deep. Pulled that first beaver dam, and it was barely ankle deep. So it did a lot of good. And that was a mess down in that creek. Like I said, the old sewer line right away just grown up. That's what it looks like now. It's open. This is the last beaver dam that we cleared. And I'd say within 10 minutes, it's about 4 foot of water come down. That's what it looks like now. Going through, this is the kind of stuff that we found that if we wouldn't have cleared out a right away that hadn't been cleared in over 10 years, we'd never know that manhole was right above the creek, overflowing, going right into the creek. And so I believe we've let the right people know about that, and hopefully that's been mitigated. But
So that was underwater?
that's up above the creek bank.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably, yeah, just off to the edge to the right there was the creek, and it's just
Okay.
constantly overflowing. So, you know, if we hadn't have gone in there, we'd have never known. It could have been doing that for 10 more, 20 more years, you know, so.
Do we know if that's been fixed?
I don't know if it's been fixed. I know we let Health and Human Services know. Private landowner has been let know, but I've not been in to investigate. Not having any regulatory power myself, so I don't.
Whose manhole is that?
Stat.
Stats manhole?
Yes, sir.
Where's the water come from? The water coming out of that? You said it was coming out of that, flowing into the
Is it
creek?
the city sewer system that runs behind Stat? Is that what you're talking?
I think it's connected to that, and we think we
Okay.
figured out that it was a private manhole
Listed
put
as a
in.
private manhole.
Ah, okay.
They've been notified, been warned.
Can we follow up, see if there's anything been done with it? That ain't too good.
That's it. That's what we did last year, and this year I'm actually getting ready to submit my new strap application. So hopefully we'll get the whole 500,000. Hopefully we'll get more than that. We'll see. You know. So hopefully I think by May I should know how much money we're gonna get this year, and we're gonna jump back in and start cleaning out some more floodplains. So
Yeah.
you have any other questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You guys
you.
do
Oh,
a
yeah,
great job,
absolutely.
man.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
I think Lower Creek flooded pretty good back in late 70s, early 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah. Used to.
Oh yeah, it's been flooding since the 30s and 40s. Doing this stuff, I got down a rabbit hole trying to look at all historical stuff. It's been flooding forever. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Y'all have a great
you.
night.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Next, we have a presentation, request for purchase for public-private partnership for residential development of county-owned property. Charlie Chapman.
Good evening.
Good
So,
evening.
yeah, this evening, just wanted to talk through a potential public-private partnership opportunity for residential development, specifically coming to you with looking to put out a request for development partner qualifications or an RFQ. Where did my clicker go? So just a little bit of background, brief overview. Parcel we're looking at, 1901 Connolly Springs Road. It was purchased back in April of 2023. It's got a total acreage of about 14.7 acres. About 10 to 12 of those are developable for housing. As you may remember, it was purchased through the Economic Development Statutes 158-7.1. This allows for public-private partnerships to be created for economic development purposes. And in this case, we wanted to do additional housing. This was the parcel that was purchased in partnership with the town of Cages Mountain to construct a new EMS space, looking to put some housing on the back of there. So brief overview of the process of the RFQ, what we would be doing with this. Once the RFQ is released, we'll gather those developer submissions from the public RFQ. Next step, staff will review the submission packets and select the top performing firms for interviews. In the RFQ, it outlines that there's a maximum of 5 firms that'll be selected, and we've got a concrete sort of scoring system and evaluation metric that is included in the RFQ so that all the development teams know what they're being judged on. So the next thing we'll do is interview those selected firms, narrow down to one single top choice, and then recommend that top choice to y'all for your commissioner approval. And that top choice firm will have the opportunity to present their concept and their qualifications to you all. And then pending your approval, we would negotiate and execute a development agreement to get them started working on that land. So just a little bit more about what is actually in the RFQ, what we've put in there. We've got a brief overview of what the RFQ is, some stats, some context to the market here in Caldwell County for those developers who may not be as familiar with the area, kind of get them situated in the area. We've got an overview of the site, so that's the zoning, that's the utilities we've got there, that's the acreage, all your kind of nuts and bolts pieces there. The most important part, I think, are the guiding public interests. Those are really included in there to give the developer an idea of what the county is looking for if this piece of land were to be developed into housing. And I'll go into that in more detail in just a second, but that's got really your specifications of what kind of housing you're looking for. And then the rest of it there is just sort of administrative stuff. So again, it'll outline the solicitation process, what exactly we're looking for in their proposal, what they should be including, the evaluation criteria, how they should submit, and then what to do about if they have questions or clarifications. So like I said, those guiding public interests are really the heart of the RFQ, if you will. So I'll go through those sort of one at a time. But we want this RFQ to support an additional residential development behind a new EMS space in Cages Mountain. We want to support development at a density of about 3 to 4 units per acre. Given how much developable land we think we have there, it's about 30 to 50 units, sort of depending on what the developer chooses to do there. We want it to address missing middle housing in Caldwell County through the development of cluster housing, and cluster housing specifically is a development approach that concentrates housing into a portion of available land while preserving a portion of land for open space uses such as recreation. So it's sort of courtyard style housing with a courtyard in the middle for recreation. We've got some examples here in just a second. Sort of building off of that, having common open space incorporated into the interior of the development. And we've included these pictures in the RFQ so the developers have a little bit more of a visual idea of what kind of housing we're looking for. As you can see there on the left, you've got all the houses sort of on the outside with some reserved recreation courtyard space in the middle. Using public dollars to maximize private investment to provide additional high-quality residential opportunities in Caldwell County. And lastly, create additional housing options for civil servants, reserving at least 20% of those units for these workers. So examples be teachers, firefighters, police, active duty military, frontline nurses, et cetera, people who are working to serve the public. So in the 20% there, that's the staff recommendation from what we've seen in other places that have done similar RFQs to this. But we're open to increasing or decreasing that number as y'all see fit. 20% right now would be about 10 to 15 units, depending on, again, how many the developer chooses to put on that site. Lastly, we've got a proposed timeline here. We would be looking to release this out to the public tomorrow. About a month after that would be the deadline for these submissions. We would take that next month between March and April to review those and set up interviews with the top 5 performing firms. Another month there into May to narrow down which team we would like to see present to use the commissioners. And then about a month after that, hopefully before the end of the fiscal year here, having a development agreement finalized with the top performing firm. And then Q1 2025, a groundbreaking on the site, just sort of tentative as we think that might be able to happen. So that's all I've got as just a general overview of what we're looking to send out here at the RFQ, but I'm happy to take any questions, clarifications, things of that nature.
All right, anybody have any questions for Charlie?
This is, from what I understand, like middle income and people and stuff. It's not gonna be a low income housing project, is it?
Yeah, and I like the idea that we're gearing it towards some of our public service folks, at least giving them an opportunity to land somewhere.
Well, it'll help recruitment, you know,
Yep.
into the area, retention as well.
So, we thank you for coming.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Charlie. Good job.
Thank you, Charlie.
Next, we have a presentation of Ripple Fiber. Jason Jersky.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Very well done.
I think they've got your presentation loaded up. Oh, okay. I thought you'd already sent it. I apologize.
My apologies.
Do you have it on thumb drive?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, let's just hit it.
Yeah, I'll just
I don't know if you
walk
can
through it, and then
broadcast
I
it.
could share it later, maybe, if y'all
Yes.
prefer that.
Thank
you. Welcome. First of all, I want to say just what an amazing day. You know, a woman turning 100, a young lady who's lived more life in 11 years than I could ever imagine, and then a great long-term employee who helped veterans. I mean, come on. Very impressive day.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. But I'm here to talk about my company, Ripple Fiber. We are a new entrant into the internet service provider field, ISPs. Think about your traditional providers of internet would be your phone companies and your cable companies, and there's now other options out there that do fiber to your home versus the copper lines of the phone companies or the cable lines of the cable companies. We were investigating where to build, and we came across Caldwell County, and we're very interested in building in the county. We are America's brightest and fastest growing fiber internet provider. Our founders are actually familiar with building networks overseas. They've done so in South Africa, building networks throughout the country, both middle mile and last mile fiber networks. They identified that the United States needed these products, as we are not as fiber centric as much of Europe and Africa, which is unusual but true. So they wanted to bring those innovative technologies to this market. It was actually pre-pandemic, and then the pandemic just highlighted the value of more opportunities for internet and how important high-speed internet is to everyone. We are fully funded, self-funded. We are our own private equity and capital. There's no investment being required of anybody else but ourselves. We're currently building in North and South Carolina. I'll get a little more into that later in the presentation. Very transparent business philosophy. We want to work with our communities, and I've already had multiple conversations with the county manager and the municipalities that we'll be constructing in to make sure that we do so in the right way. Construction is always a challenge, but if you do it the right way and you communicate, you know, the end product, the end result is very valuable. We also care about the communities. We're looking to do an office in the area, likely within Caldwell County, as we're building here first. We're also looking down towards Hickory and Catawba County, so that is also on the future agenda. Our philosophies are we believe in people, we believe in tomorrow. Like internet is all about that. Smart homes, connected devices, remote learning, remote work, streaming. Once upon a time, download speeds were the things that mattered. You downloaded movies, your Netflix, or you know, your videos that somebody sent you, or you wanted to get off the internet. Well, now it's really about both ways, download and upload speeds. You got to, when you want a video conference, when you're uploading something to YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, when you're doing remote school for the day because the weather's bad. These are all things that require upload speeds as well as download speeds, and our products are fully symmetrical. We're also leading edge on our technology. We use Nokia, mesh networking, Wi-Fi 6 is already something that we're involved in, and Hexatronic is a name brand for high quality fiber equipment. We've already invested over more than $50 million in the state of North Carolina. Over 600 fiber route miles in the states just since we started constructing in the beginning of 2022. So we've been building for about 18 to 24 months now. We employ 70 North Carolinians. With that, we'll be growing quickly. We only had 25 at the start of 2023. So we added 50 just in the last year. And we already have offices in Matthews, North Carolina. Our corporate office is just outside of Charlotte. We have an office in Pinehurst and the Outer Banks, and one down in Greenville, South Carolina. So like I said, I mentioned those areas we have service in Matthews, we're providing service in Union County, the Monroe area. We're building currently in Cramerton, Gastonia, Kings Mountain, and Shelby. We're about to activate customers in the Pinehurst and Outer Banks areas. So that's very exciting, and Caldwell was our next targeted market for a lot of great reasons with all your great towns. Our two packages right now, we do a gigabit symmetrical speeds, one gigabit download speeds, 1 gigabit upload speeds, and we also offer a cheaper opportunity at 250 megabits per second upload and download speed, which is kind of almost a minimum nowadays for both downloading and trying to do multiple video conferencing at the same time. Upfront pricing, right? Right now, those prices are $55 and $85, but by the time we activate service in here, there'll be different options and different availability, and likely much better, right? We're going to increase the speeds, and we're going to give more tiered options for those who choose to do so. No hidden equipment fees, no contract fees. You know, there are taxes and some things that you have to pay for, but other than those small amounts like state tax and stuff like that, there will be no additional fees, whether they're contract, equipment, installation, that kind of thing. We have great customer service. We have great, you know, we're local. We have 8 to 5 people you can call in our offices, and then after that time, it does go to an overseas call center, but you know, we will escalate those as required, and you can stream all you want, right? We'll help you hook up your streaming services, and we will also offer phone service if you so desire. Not many people want home phone service anymore, but if that is something that you desire, we have that capability. We are a licensed competitive local exchange carrier in the state of North Carolina, so we can port your number from other providers, et cetera. What's in it for the county, for the municipalities, and what's the value for you all? Well, you know, starting off just with upgraded infrastructure, you know, new fiber, new quality, you know, connections and availability. Add that to the idea of competition with the existing providers, whether it's, you know, the phone company DSL, digital subscriber line service, or your cable company cable modem service. And we all know who those companies are. They're fine, right? They're good, we're good. But we will just provide alternatives to them in those areas. Increases your livability index. There's some studies that show that. The one I like to cite is a study by the University of Chicago and Carnegie Mellon, two pretty good schools, who say that there's a 3.1% average increase in home value when you become fiber serviceable. If you have fiber all the way to your home and not just copper, it actually adds value to your home sale price. And it's also great for your communities as far as, you know, knowing that your workforce and your residents have that ability to do online applications. You know, it's how do you find a job in 2024? You do it online. How do you interview for a job nowadays? It's all online. So we identified the towns and areas in the county that we're working with already, and it's mostly south of Lenoir, like Granite Falls up through Hudson, Sawmills, Gamewell, Cage Mountain. I'm missing one. I met with all of them earlier today. What's that?
I think you hit all of them that are eligible right now.
Yeah, and we will look to expand, and we're happy to work with any town or the county if you identify areas that aren't in our current project plan to evaluate what the economic models and the feasibility of building there is. We do a lot of underground and aerial construction. We're working with the pole owners to have that capability. You know, for example, the town is named Granite Falls. We might hit some granite when we're trying to do underground construction. So we want to have that ability to have alternate paths of construction and service provision. We're, again, local, so we have escalation methods and tickets, and we're working with the towns and we'll work with the county to make sure that you all have access to the information that if a resident calls you, I've heard this a few times today, if somebody's calling you complaining about our construction in the right-of-way, you can immediately direct them right to us. You'll have my cell phone number. I encourage you to use it. I don't care if they call me at 2 in the morning because we struck a water line. We shouldn't be working at 2 in the morning, but heaven forbid that's when they realize it. We'll be available to answer that call and do something about it. We also have online digital ticketing systems like any modern company would, but we'll also be available personally. Manager Duncan's already met our vice president of construction, our project manager, including and our subcontractors who will be doing like the manual labor and the actual work in the right of way. So we're already engaging in all of that. You have my contact info, and there's additional info we can provide. That was all I had for today, but is there any comments or questions?
Well,
Talk a lot.
So you'll be competing with Spectrum and Brightspeed, correct?
Yes, if we will be looking to build in areas where there's not currently a fiber to the home competitor. It is, we want to compete against other internet providers because there's almost very few people. We're also looking to build to underserved areas. There's all that government subsidy money available at the current time, some of which has already been granted, but more of which is coming. We'll look to partner with the communities and the counties in those projects as well. But right now, the projects are probably in the more denser parts of the city for economic feasibility.
Right. Does Spectrum and Brightspeed offer?
They do not, that I am aware of, offer symmetrical speeds, gigabit up, gigabit down. The only one I am aware of
They
in
don't
this
offer
area.
fiber either, do they?
They don't, yeah. They have fiber to what's called a different part of their system, and then it
Right.
goes
Then it
to
goes
a
back to
copper
copper.
or
Yeah.
coaxial cable, it's called. AT&T Fiber is a fiber competitor in Lenoir, and we probably will not, directly compete with them at this time. We'll evaluate that over the years.
Okay.
But yeah,
So I guess my thought was are we gonna give our citizens another option?
yes.
So, yeah.
And we talked with a lot of the town managers and mayors and such, both this morning and a few weeks ago. I would want to thank Manager Duncan and the Ashley Bullock from the economic development teams, because she also helped set a lot of this up for us to make sure that we're doing what y'all need.
The question
Construction is change, right? It's challenging, so we want to make sure we're communicating that.
Yeah, the question I get from, and I live in Granite Falls, so the question I get from folks is the reliability of that service, the internet service, and not saying any names. So, but what's your reliability of your service?
In the high 99 point numbers, right? It doesn't, if it goes down, it's because there's no power, or it's the same reason that you're not going to be worried about your internet. You're worried about, your car floating away. Our equipment it's the same as these other providers, and the difference is we guarantee our speeds, right? They're symmetrical. Cable modems especially are best efforts. They can have issues with contention and congestion, which is traffic on the network.
Yep.
We don't have that, because you have a light, a piece of fiber that runs directly from your house all the way back to what one would call like our head end or our touch point, and then it goes back, it goes out into the world, and that doesn't get tied down. The reliability and latency are very, very high reliability, very, very low latency. Gamers love it. Like
Yep,
that's
what I was
the
getting ready-
example
exactly what I
that,
was getting ready to say, yeah.
yeah.
And large families with kids and stuff, because everybody's got so many different
You
pieces
can
of
have
equipment.
upwards of 20 connected devices in a family of 4 now.
No plans for any rural work right now.
Some of it, I wouldn't call it rural, more, like Gamewell ain't exactly, metropolitan, but it's also got a nice dense area that we're
does.
going to be building in. So that's where we're focused for now. We definitely want to work with the community as these BEAD dollars and GREAT grants and CAB grants come out moving forward. We want to be an option for you to partner with. I'm not saying you have to, right? Like, that's y'all's call.
Yeah.
We want to be providing, and by the way, if we get in this infrastructure now this year, we'll be prepared for those dollars when the $42 billion the federal government allocated for internet throughout the United States becomes available later this year.
I'm
Good
pretty
stuff.
excited to hear this
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah,
because some
good
of my
stuff.
biggest complaints is no competition and prices rising dramatically over a period of time.
It's always a good thing for everyone, right? It makes sure that it helps customer service, it helps pricing. When you're held to a standard, everybody acts a little bit better.
Yeah. When you got choices,
Yes.
that's what makes it good.
Yeah, we can't treat you bad, or you'll just go to another provider. We
That's
gotta
right.
Well, I
treat
live
you
in
right.
Sawmills. Go ahead and run me some out there and let me
That's
test.
right. We'll try it out.
So we'll be in communication constantly over the next few months for sure. We even had NCDOT in the meeting this
You
morning.
do realize that Sawmills is the second largest municipality in Caldwell County.
After Lenoir, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So we have density.
And
So
yeah,
I live in Sawmills, if you can't tell.
yeah, is that
No, I'm just
Manager
kidding.
Weinbart?
Chase, yes.
Yeah,
yep.
Chase, yeah. I've emailed with him a few times, and he was at our first meeting. We missed him today. But we've already been in touch with him. So we're very excited about it. And it should be within 6 to 9 months, right? Construction can start as soon as 2 months from now. We're getting all the permitting and everything else. It's really going to depend on that permitting process and our friends at NCDOT and the other municipalities. these projects are larger scale and scope than any of them have dealt with in many, many years. So it's definitely something that requires a lot of coordination and cooperation.
Yep.
So the only thing you're asking from us is just approval. I mean, just our personal approval.
Yeah, just-
It's already a done deal, isn't it?
They've studied the market, and they're making their move into this market. So it's an informational item for the commissioners that we're working steadily, county and the municipalities and DOT, to ease their transition into the market, because it's gonna take a lot of effort off staff time to make sure that they're not crashed into a sewer line or somebody else's fiber or irrigation system, so.
Well, I appreciate you coming giving us an update about this.
Informational and partnership, right? We
Yeah,
want
there's
you
an
to, if you
area
have any
right outside of
questions.
Granite that kind of connects to Granite, that you'll be working probably in the neighborhood, and it's just kind of across the street from the neighborhood, so I'd like to talk to you about that particular area.
Yep. Happy to do any further conversations, and thank you for your time.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Mr. Josh Angle, and he's coming about tax liens on real property.
Reverend Angle. Anybody getting married tonight? We got the preacher with us tonight.
I'm
so-
not licensed to perform it. Would you like to take care of this? Good evening.
Good evening, Josh.
In accordance with General Statute 105-369, I'm reporting the number of accounts and the dollar amount of unpaid taxes for 2023 that are liens on real property. The following numbers have been revised as of today and may slightly differ from your packet. The total number of outstanding accounts for 2023 is 5,158. The sum of these accounts is $2,543,082.77. An alphabetical listing of these accounts is available in the county tax office. I come before the board to report this information and to request the authority to advertise the 2023 property tax liens.
All right, so hearing the request, what's the pleasure of the board in allowing Mr. Angle to advertise?
I'll make a motion that we allow Mr. Engel to advertise for the tax liens on real property.
Any other discussion or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. So go get them, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rev. Have a good evening.
Next, we have Micah Kelly with us this evening, and he's calling for a public hearing for road name on Woods Road. So, hey, Micah.
Hello, good evening. I'm gonna keep mine really short and sweet. So we are naming this Woods Road and offered by the civilians that live on the Woods Road. It's currently addressed off of Glass Roads, but due to how far back off of the road they are, it really needs to be named, because you're just gonna drive right past them and never know. So for this, we are calling for the decision to be Woods Road, but they have asked for, at the time of the meeting, to present an alternative name if one is presented by an individual. They were not able to get in touch with her. We will be sending out a notice to her home, but they would like to get her opinion, but everybody else has agreed to Woods Road.
All right, so we need to call for that public hearing at our next meeting?
Yes, in the next meeting.
Yeah.
We don't have another Woods Road in the county anywhere, do we? Or the
No,
cities?
we do not. We do have a Woods Drive, but we do not currently have a Woods Road.
That always gets confusing for emergency services.
It is. And as stated, we do not have to use, and they are aware of that, we do not have to use Woods Road. If we would like to give them the chance to represent another name, we are more than welcome to do that as well.
Would that mess the public hearing up from?
No, as long as
Okay.
you have it for the public hearing, it's advertised, y'all can switch the name up until.
We could switch the name up at the March meeting.
And there is validity to confusion from 911 dispatching.
Yep.
So if there's an alternative that the community would like to present, probably a good time to do it between now and the time we set the next agenda so we can advertise it.
Yeah, and there should be the one attendee, Mr. Harris, I believe, will be attending as representative for most of everybody who's got up there. He spearheaded the whole naming of the road for 911 services, really to get the building permits and stuff pulled for up there. because they're all starting to build up there. But like you said, the only person they were not able to get in touch with was the lady at the very front of the road, Miss Emily, and that's why they said they would like to reserve the right to maybe not use Woods Road if she doesn't agree to it, but everybody else has agreed to Woods Road.
Are they all Woodses? I heard you mention Mr. Harris.
No, I have no idea other than they found a old plat from 1984 that has Woods Road written on it.
All right.
No, there's no Woods that lived there. No Woods ever owned property on it. I have no idea how they've come up with it, other than, like I said, they found a really old plat that originally deemed it. I mean, it's hand drawn in, dotted lines, you know. But yeah, that's the only reference that it's ever made to. Everything else just refers to it as a 30-foot easement, except for like I said, the one handwritten Woods Road drawn in right of way.
Yeah, I just know I think Chief DiMaroni can agree with this. We have a lot of roads where they Woods Road, Woods Lane, or whatever, and then that EMS ends up going to the wrong place, and then it causes another problem. And so it'd be personally, I'd like to see them if they could come up with something different, or Woods Harris, or Woods something, whatever, so we could kind of distinguish it a little bit.
Is this in Lenoir, or where is this?
So this is out on Glass Road.
Okay.
Collinsville, yeah.
So I think the Woods Drive you mentioned, from what I can find, is in Granite Falls.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's I don't want to say downtown Granite Falls, but it's pretty central in Granite.
I knew I'd heard of Woods something before. I just wasn't sure where it was.
All right. So do I hear a motion we call for the public hearing at our March meeting?
So moved.
Any other discussion or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Micah.
Next is a bid for Lake Park Water System.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you have before you a proposal to accept the bid. This was the second bid that we had to do for this project for Lakeview Park Water System, the amount of $532,710. This award would go to North State Water and Sewer Incorporated. They're a qualified firm and have been reviewed by our engineer and West Consultants. This project would replace water lines that some are as old as 60 years old and are substandard in condition. They're substandard in size for adequate fire protection service as well. This is not a simple project. It is a complicated matter because we have to maintain water service to the homes while we discontinue one system and build another. So we'll be in people's yards and blocking the road and doing all those fun things. So we'll ask that community bear with us and be patient as we improve their water system. It is also a public health issue based on the type of material. So you're doing a great thing, and this has been a capital project that's been on the books for a couple of years now. We're getting to it. And the bids are in within budget.
All right. So
Is there a way for us to notify those residents that work is going? I don't want to just one day we show up, start digging.
Correct,
without
yes,
letting
sir.
them know.
So once we get to pre-con, we will set a construction schedule of which streets will be affected when, and then we'll notify those neighbors accordingly based on that construction schedule. Of course, weather, supplies, and all that may delay it, but we want them to know well in advance so we can get it done, probably under construction for about 3 months.
all right, do I hear a motion we approve this contract in the amount of $532,710?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve this contract as presented.
Any other discussion or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. And that brings us to our consent agenda this evening. Our county manager, Mr. Donald Duncan.
Yes, sir. We'll begin with a proclamation honoring Black History Month for the month of February. We also have an emergency services radio purchase grant. North Carolina Department of Information Technology received some additional federal funding and funding from the state and allowed each county or each PSAP in the state to purchase equal number of radios as they have seats at consoles. So we have 6 at any given time, so we get to purchase these 6 radios with no contribution from the county, the amount of about $50,000. So a nice grant, surprise, didn't know we were getting it. Sheriff's use of donated funds for safeguard kit purchase. I don't see Lieutenant DePail here, but he's put together a wonderful program to allow us to have and it's a terrible thing, we have to say this, but allow us to have Stop the Bleed kits in mass at each school. He was able to get those funds donated to cover that cost. So it's
Great.
absolutely fantastic. He was actually writing the grant. We would be the second county in the nation to implement such a plan
That's great.
that we know of. Or maybe somebody else come out since I've said that, but it's called the Minute Matter Program. Health Department received additional funds for COVID Bridges Access Grant. This allows for $75,000 in additional vaccine access for those who are uninsured or underinsured to allow our working poor to get access to vaccines if they can't afford them. DSS received grant funds for emergency placement of children with behavioral health issues. As you all know, that's a growing need across our state. We've had some tragedies in the amount of $28,000. We have an additional SCADA contract for the water department with Fortec Company. This is a $30,000 grant. This will start the beginning of a supervising control and data acquisition system. And that's a fancy way of saying we can have a terminal at our water facilities where we can monitor our valves, the filling of our tanks. Right now, we're doing it all analog or manually, so we'll be able to do this digitally and monitor the water system the way it needs to be done. This will be a project that's been one of your major capital projects. It's been on the books for about 3 years now, and we'll get that going. You need to accept the appointments for the Board of Equalization and Review for the 2024 calendar year. Also, we have an agreement for miscellaneous services, and we don't like to use the term miscellaneous, but it's actually an on-call engineering service. So if we come across something's broken, we're out working, we dig something up, you always want to have an engineer on call, no different than you have a contract with your attorney to provide services so somebody can come out, get you an early opinion of something before you proceed on. And that would be with Withers and Ravenel. We had, I believe, 5 different applicants. And I would recommend, based on FEMA standards, that the county do that every 2 years to send that back out for bids for on-call engineering services. That way, if you have a FEMA-related event, let's say a bridge gets wiped out and we have to go out there and do some engineering review to see if it's stable enough before we can allow anyone or any of our equipment to process it, then that can be reimbursed if you have a contract that's 2 years or newer.
So our current engineer can't do that.
Well, they can, but they're not here. They're away from us, so this is a more local engineer that's available to us. We have folks stationed in the county as well as neighboring counties, so that's access to someone that can be here close in a timely manner. Also, we have the approval of the Tri-County Speedway 2024 schedule. They have 17 events planned, plus rain dates and test and tune days. Hope to have an active year. We also have, our Sheriff's Department may be here to speak on it, but we've had a request from Brookford PD to assist them in donating them 2 cars, 2 patrol units that are coming offline. These are 2 Ford Tauruses that are both 10 and 11 years old, and you're allowed by law to convey real property to another governmental entity, both federal and state and local, and with no exchange of money, but only to another governmental entity. And the resolution is there for your approval. As you know, they're a very small town, and that department catches a lot of overflow from the metro area because it's a pass-through to Highway 321. So they're a very active department with very little funding.
Yep.
And I'm sure they'll very much appreciate this. And then approval of minutes.
All right, any other comment, discussion, or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries unanimously. So we're going to, I think, enter into a closed session at this time. But I did want to mention, as a public service announcement, voting starts Thursday, February 15th, early voting in Caldwell County. And you have a primary coming up on March the 5th. So please go exercise your right to vote the next 2.5 weeks. So anyway, with that, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to enter closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.11A4 to discuss matters relating to an economic development opportunity.
All right. Any discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we're going to enter into closed session. So thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, and thank you all that have joined us by TV.